The rain is a cold, persistent slap against my skin, seeping through the thin cotton of my summer dress until it clings to the pronounced swell of my belly. Each drop feels like a judgment, a tiny liquid accusation. I stand on the desolate stretch of sidewalk, the city lights blurring into a watercolor wash of indifference behind my tears. There is nowhere to go. There is no one to call. The life I thought I was building, the little family I had dreamed of inside this very body, was dismantled in under 5 minutes with a few careless words. I can't do this, Mia. I'm not ready. And just like that, Leo was gone, his retreating back the last thing I saw of my future. Now, all that's left is the ache in my chest and the terrifying hollow echo of being utterly alone. My hand instinctively cradles my stomach, a futile gesture of protection against a world that has suddenly shown its teeth. The baby shifts, a gentle flutter against my palm, oblivious to the storm raging both outside and within me. A pair of headlights cuts through the downpour, slowing as they approach. I tense, my survival instincts screaming at me to run, to hide. A woman, pregnant and alone on a dark street, is a target. But my feet feel rooted to the cracked pavement, my body too heavy with exhaustion and despair to move. A black car, sleek and silent as a predator, glides to a stop beside me. It's the kind of car that doesn't belong in this part of the city, a phantom of wealth and power in a landscape of decay. The tinted rear window slides down with a faint whir, revealing a silhouette in the dim interior. My heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage of bone. Then I see his face, and the fear morphs into something sharper, colder. It's a face I've only seen in hushed news reports and on the covers of magazines I could never afford. A face carved from granite and shadows, sharp cheekbones, a severe jawline, and eyes that seem to absorb all the light around them. Nico Belandi. The name is a whisper of violence and control that haunts the very foundations of this city. He is a king in a kingdom of concrete and fear, and I am a peasant caught in his path. The rear door opens, and he unfolds himself from the car. He's taller than I imagined, dressed in a suit so exquisitely tailored it looks like a second skin. He moves with an unnerving grace, the reins seeming to part for him as he walks the few steps to where I'm frozen. He doesn't say a word. He simply shrugs off his heavy wool coat, the fabric dark and smelling faintly of cedar and something uniquely masculine, and drapes it over my shivering shoulders. The warmth is instantaneous, a shocking comfort against my chilled skin. It's heavy, a tangible weight that feels both protective and suffocating. His gaze, intense and unreadable, drops from my face to the obvious curve of my stomach. It lingers there for a beat too long, a silent acknowledgement of the child I carry. My breath catches. I expect a look of disdain, of pity, maybe even disgust. I see none of it. When his eyes meet mine again, they hold a flicker of something I cannot name, something that is not quite compassion, but is leagues away from cruelty. "You shouldn't be alone," he says. His voice is quiet, a low rumble that cuts through the hiss of the rain. It's not a question. It's a statement of fact, delivered with the absolute certainty of a man who is never wrong. My name is Mia Leone, and every rational thought in my head is screaming at me to thank him, return his coat, and run as fast as my swollen ankles will carry me. To get away from the danger that radiates from him like heat from asphalt. But my body betrays me. I can't move. I can't speak. The warmth of his coat is a siren's call to my exhausted bones. He seems to understand my paralysis. He turns, walking back to the car and opening the back door wider, a clear invitation into the plush, leathery darkness within. "Get in," he says, his voice still quiet, yet carrying an undeniable current of authority. It doesn't feel like a command, not entirely. It doesn't feel like a threat. In the ruin of my life, with the rain washing away the last of my hope, it feels like the hand of fate reaching out from the shadows. And so, I do the one thing I know I shouldn't. I take a step forward, and then another, and I get into the car. The door closes with a solid, definitive thud, sealing me inside a world of silence and leather. The roar of the storm is instantly muted to a distant patter against the roof and windows. The air inside is warm and smells of him, that same scent of cedar and clean, expensive fabric. It's overwhelming, an invasion of my senses that leaves me dizzy. I clutch the edges of his heavy coat around me, the rough wool a grounding texture in this surreal moment. I am sitting in a car with Nico Belandi. The thought repeats itself in my mind, a frantic, unbelievable mantra. He gets in on the other side, the vehicle dipping slightly with his weight. The space suddenly feels much smaller. He doesn't look at me. He leans forward and speaks to the driver, his voice a low murmur I can't quite catch. The car pulls away from the curb smoothly, gliding into the rain-slicked streets. We drive in silence. I stare out the window, watching the familiar, dreary landscape of my neighborhood slide by, each building a monument to my failed life. The laundromat where Leo and I used to argue over whose turn it was to fold. The corner store where I bought the pregnancy test, my hands shaking with a mixture of terror and hope. It all seems like a lifetime ago. My gaze drifts to his reflection in the dark window. He's staring straight ahead, his profile rigid, a mask of impenetrable control. What does he want? The question screams in my head. Men like him don't perform acts of charity. Everything has a price, a purpose. Am I a pawn in some game I don't understand? A curiosity? He must have seen the desperation on my face, the raw vulnerability. To a man like him, that's not a reason for pity. It's an opportunity. Where are you taking me? My voice comes out as a squeak, thin and reedy. I clear my throat and try again, forcing a strength I don't feel. Where are we going? He turns his head slowly, and his eyes pin me in place. They are dark, the color of espresso, and they seem to see right through the flimsy walls I've built around myself. Somewhere safe, he says simply. I don't know you, I state, the words sounding foolish even to my own ears. Everyone in the city knows who he is. A ghost of a smile touches his lips, a fleeting, humorless expression. You know my name. That's not the same thing. I pull the coat tighter, a shield against his unnerving presence. I can't just go with you. I don't have any money, if that's what you're thinking. I am not thinking about your money, Mia, he says, and the sound of my name on his lips is a shock. How does he know my name? A cold dread snakes its way up my spine. Leo. Did Leo sell me out? Did he tell this man something? Was my abandonment not just careless, but malicious? As if reading my mind, he elaborates, his voice devoid of emotion. Leo Ferretti has a substantial gambling debt. When he came to my office a week ago begging for an extension, he offered up his pregnant girlfriend as collateral. A disgusting proposition. I declined. The air leaves my lungs in a painful rush. Collateral? I was offered up like a piece of property, a bargaining chip for a man who claimed to love me. The betrayal is a physical blow, more painful than the rain, more chilling than the night air. Tears spring to my eyes again, hot and furious. I was never just abandoned. I was discarded. Sold. Nico watches the emotions play out on my face, his own expression unreadable. He told me where you lived. He continues, his tone flat. I had my men watch the apartment. When he left with his bags tonight, I assumed you would need assistance. He had me watched. The thought is both terrifying and, in a twisted way, comforting. While I was falling apart, this dangerous, powerful man had eyes on me, ensuring I wasn't completely alone in the wreckage. But why? What is his end game? Why? I whisper, the question hanging in the silent, fragrant air between us. Why would you do any of this? He looks away, his gaze returning to the stream of headlights passing by. The city is changing around us, the run-down tenements giving way to gleaming glass towers and manicured parks. We are entering his world. My reasons are my own, he says, his voice shutting down the conversation. For now, you will be my guest. You will be safe. You will be cared for, and you will want for nothing. That is all you need to know. His guest. The word feels like a euphemism for prisoner. The car turns, passing through an ornate wrought iron gate that swings open for us as if by magic. We drive up a long, winding driveway, flanked by towering trees that block out the city lights completely. We are in a bubble of wealth and isolation. The car comes to a stop before a house that is less a house and more a modern fortress of glass, steel, and stone. It's immense, impersonal, and breathtakingly beautiful. The driver is already out, opening my door. The rain has softened to a fine mist. Nico is beside me in an instant, his hand hovering near the small of my back, not touching, but its presence a palpable heat. He guides me toward the massive front doors, which are opened from the inside by a woman in a simple black dress. She has kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. Elena, Nico says, his tone softening almost imperceptibly. This is Mia. She will be staying with us. See that she has everything she needs. The Rose Suite. Elena nods, her warm gaze falling on me, then my belly. There's no judgment in her eyes, only a quiet, professional sympathy. Of course, Mr. Belandi. Welcome, miss. Please, come in out of the damp. I step over the threshold, leaving the last vestiges of my old life behind on the rain-soaked welcome mat. The inside of the house is as intimidating as the outside. A soaring two-story foyer with a marble floor so polished I can see my own wretched reflection in it. A grand staircase curves upwards into the shadows. It's silent, sterile, and feels as cold as a museum. This is my new reality. A gilded cage offered by a man who is equal parts savior and captor. And as Elena leads me up the silent, carpeted stairs, I feel Nico's eyes on my back, a heavy, possessive weight that tells me this is not a temporary arrangement. This is my life now. The Rose Suite is larger than my entire apartment. The name is an understatement. It's a full wing of the house. A massive bedroom with a king-sized bed piled high with pillows, a sitting room with a fireplace and plush velvet couches, and a bathroom that looks like it belongs in a 5-star spa, complete with a walk-in shower and a soaking tub deep enough to drown in. The walls are a soft cream, and the promised rose theme is subtle. In the delicate floral pattern of the curtains, the scent of fresh-cut roses in a vase on the mantelpiece. Everything is opulent, tasteful, and utterly impersonal. Elena shows me how to work the lights and the thermostat with a quiet efficiency. There are clothes in the closet, miss. We were not sure of your size, but we did our best. If anything does not fit, or if there is anything else you require, you only need to ask. I walk to the closet and open the doors. It's filled with new clothes. Soft-looking maternity dresses, cashmere sweaters, silk pajamas, comfortable-looking leggings and tunics. All of it in neutral, elegant shades. All of it with the tags still on. He had this prepared. The realization sends another chill through me. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. He planned to bring me here. He knew Leo would abandon me, and he had this cage ready and waiting. A bath has been drawn for you, Elena says gently, gesturing towards the bathroom. Dinner will be brought up in an hour, unless you would prefer to join Mr. Belandi downstairs." The thought of facing him again, of sitting across a polished dining table under his intense scrutiny, is more than I can bear. "Here," I say quickly. "Here would be fine." She nods with a small, understanding smile. "Very good, miss. I will leave you to get settled." She departs, closing the door with a soft click that sounds deafening in the silence. I am alone. I walk to the enormous window that takes up an entire wall of the bedroom. It overlooks a sprawling garden, dark and mysterious in the night, with the distant glittering lights of the city spread out like a carpet of fallen stars. I am high above it all, removed and isolated, safe, as he promised. But it feels like a different kind of danger. I strip off my damp, pathetic dress and the heavy coat, letting them fall to the floor in a heap. The warmth of the room is a balm on my skin. I pad into the bathroom, the marble cool under my bare feet. The bath is steaming, scented with lavender. I sink into the hot water with a sigh that is part relief, part sob. The water envelops me, and for the first time all day, I don't feel cold. I lean my head back against the porcelain and finally let the tears fall. Silent tears that track down my face and join the water of the bath. I cry for the love I thought I had, for the baby who will never know his father, and for the woman I used to be, who vanished tonight on a rainy street corner. After what feels like an eternity, I drain the tub and wrap myself in a towel that is impossibly thick and soft. In the bedroom, a tray of food is waiting on a small table near the fireplace. Roasted chicken, steamed asparagus, a small loaf of bread. Simple, nourishing food. I'm not hungry, but I know I have to eat for the baby. I pick at the food, my mind racing. What are the rules of this place? What does he expect from me in return for this hospitality? The questions circle endlessly, with no answers in sight. I find a pair of silk pajamas in the closet and slip them on. The fabric feels decadent against my skin, a luxury I have no right to. I climb into the enormous bed, the sheets crisp and cool. I should be terrified. I should be plotting my escape. But all I feel is a profound, bone-deep exhaustion. I am a ship battered by a storm, and Nico Belandi's mansion is an unexpected, perilous harbor. For tonight, it is enough. I turn on my side, my hand resting on my belly, and surrender to the encroaching darkness. My last conscious thought, a confusing swirl of fear and a strange, unwelcome sense of security. The next few days pass in a slow, silent blur. I exist within the confines of the Rose Suite, a ghost in a palace. I eat the meals that appear on the tray outside my door. I wear the beautiful, soft clothes from the closet. I take long baths and stare out the window at the meticulously kept gardens below. I speak to no one except Elena, who brings my meals and tidies the rooms with a quiet, unobtrusive presence. She answers my polite questions about the house, but offers no information about its owner. Nico is an invisible entity. I don't see him, but I feel his presence everywhere. In the absolute security of the house, in the way my every need is anticipated before I can even voice it. A stack of books appears on the sitting room table, classics, contemporary fiction, and several on pregnancy and childcare. A prenatal yoga mat is rolled up in a corner. It's thoughtful. It's controlling. The two feelings are so intertwined I can't separate them. On the fourth day, I can't stand the confinement any longer. My body feels sluggish, and my mind is numb from the lack of stimulation. I need to move. I need to breathe air that hasn't been filtered through a state-of-the-art HVAC system. After my morning meal, I find Elena in the hallway. "Elena," I begin, my voice sounding rusty from disuse. "Would it be all right if I went for a walk in the garden?" Her kind face registers a flicker of surprise. then settles into a warm smile. Of course, miss. The air will do you good. Let me show you the way. She leads me not to the grand foyer, but down a smaller private staircase that opens into a bright, glass-walled sunroom filled with plants. One of the glass doors leads directly out onto a stone terrace. The garden is even more beautiful up close. It's a labyrinth of rose bushes, sculpted hedges, and winding stone paths. A high stone wall, covered in ivy, encloses the entire property. There is no visible escape. I thank Elena and step outside. The morning air is cool and smells of damp earth and roses. I follow a path at random, my hand trailing over the velvety petals of a deep red rose. It's peaceful here, a carefully constructed paradise, but the high walls are a constant reminder of my situation. I am a guest, but I am not free to leave. I round a corner of the hedge maze and stop dead. He's there. Nico. He's standing by a small fountain, dressed not in a suit, but in dark gray trousers and a simple black Henley that stretches across his broad shoulders. He's on the phone, his back to me, his voice a low, commanding rumble. I can't make out the words, but the tone is sharp, lethal. This is the man who runs the city's underworld. The man who declined to accept me as collateral. I should turn back, retreat to the safety of my suite, but I stay, hidden by the hedge, watching him. He ends the call and shoves the phone into his pocket, running a hand through his dark hair in a gesture of frustration. For the first time, I see a crack in the mask of perfect control, a hint of weariness around his eyes. He turns, and his gaze lands directly on me. There's no surprise in his expression. Of course, he knew I was here. He probably has cameras watching every inch of this garden. He doesn't speak, just watches me as I hesitate. My heart starts to pound. This is the first time we've seen each other since that first night. The silence stretches, thick with unspoken questions. I feel the need to break it, to assert that I'm not just a passive object he has collected. The garden is beautiful, I say, my voice steadier than I expect. He nods, taking a step toward me. It was my mother's. The casual, personal revelation surprises me. I had assumed everything here was his creation, a monument to his own power. The idea of him having a mother, of this place holding sentimental value, is disorienting. It makes him infinitesimally more human. She passed away? I ask gently. A long time ago, he says, his voice flat, shutting down that line of inquiry as effectively as a slammed door. He stops a few feet from me. You are feeling better? I'm pregnant, not ill, I retort, a spark of my old self flaring to life. And I was going stir-crazy in that suite. It's lovely, but it's a cage. His lips thin. It is for your safety. My safety from what? Or from whom? I challenge, my arms crossing over my chest, a subconscious echo of the way I now cradle my belly. From Leo? You said you handled him. Leo Ferretti is no longer a concern, he says, and the finality in his tone sends a shiver down my spine. I don't dare ask what that means. But there are other business associates who might see you as a vulnerability, a weakness to be exploited. Me? I'm nothing to you, I insist, though even as I say it, it feels like a lie. My presence here makes me something to him, a responsibility, a liability, a possession. You are carrying a child, he says, his dark eyes dropping to my stomach. And you are under my protection. In my world, that makes you mine to protect. That makes you significant. Mine. The word hangs in the air between us, possessive and absolute. It should terrify me. It does terrify me. But beneath the fear, a treacherous, unwelcome warmth spreads through my chest. For the first time since Leo walked out, Someone is claiming responsibility for me, for the baby. It's the most dangerous man in the city, but the sentiment is the one I've been desperately craving. I don't want to be a liability, I whisper, looking down at the stone path. Then you will stay within these walls, where I can ensure your safety, he states. It's not a negotiation. He turns to leave, his brief audience with me apparently over. Nico, I call out, surprised at my own boldness. He stops, turning back to look at me, one eyebrow raised in silent question. Thank you, I say, the words feeling inadequate. For the books, and the clothes, and for not leaving me on that street. He simply gives a short, sharp nod, then turns and walks away, disappearing down another path in the maze, leaving me alone with the roses and the weight of his claim on my life. I am his to protect. I am significant. I am his. The words echo in the quiet garden, a promise and a threat all in one. Life settles into a new routine after our encounter in the garden. The invisible walls of my suite expand to include the house and its grounds. I am no longer confined to my rooms, but the high stone walls of the estate are an ever-present boundary. I spend my mornings walking in the garden, the cool air a welcome respite from the oppressive silence of the house. In the afternoons, I read in the vast two-story library, surrounded by thousands of books that smell of old paper and leather. It's the one room in the house that feels warm, lived in. I see Nico sporadically, a glimpse of him crossing the foyer, the sound of his car departing in the morning and returning late at night. We rarely speak. Our interactions are limited to brief nods or a shared, silent meal in the cavernous dining room. He sits at one end of the impossibly long table, and I sit at the other, with Elena serving us as a silent buffer between. During these meals, I feel his eyes on me, an intense, analytical gaze that makes me feel like a specimen under a microscope. He watches how I eat, how I hold my fork, the way my hand rests on my belly. It's unnerving. One evening, about 2 weeks into my stay, I'm in the library, curled up in a worn leather armchair with a novel. A fire crackles in the hearth, casting a warm, flickering glow on the shelves. I'm so engrossed in my book that I don't hear him enter. What are you reading? His voice, so close, makes me jump. I look up to find him standing by the fireplace, a glass of amber liquid in his hand. He shed his suit jacket and rolled up the sleeves of his white shirt, revealing muscular, tattooed forearms. The ink is a dark, intricate tapestry of patterns I can't decipher from this distance. It's 100 Years of Solitude, I stammer, holding up the book. A good choice, he says, taking a sip from his glass. Tragedy, fate, and the inescapable cycles of family. He walks over to the armchair opposite mine and sits down, the leather groaning under his weight. The casual act makes the vast room feel intimate, shrinking the space between us until it's just the two of us and the crackling fire. I suppose so, I murmur, setting the book aside. I feel exposed without its shield. I just thought it was a compelling story. Everything is a story, he says, his eyes finding mine over the rim of his glass. The question is whether you are the author or merely a character. The implication is clear. In my story, I have been a passive character, things happening to me. He is always the author. I'd like to think I have some say in my own story, I say, my chin lifting a little. A corner of his mouth quirks up. Would you? You came with me without knowing where you were going or what I wanted. I was desperate. I defend myself, heat rising in my cheeks. My other option was to stay on that street corner in the rain, with nowhere to go. There are always other options, he counters softly. Shelters, churches, You chose me. Did I? Or did he just present the most overwhelming choice, the one that swept all others away? You have a way of making other options seem irrelevant, I say carefully. He accepts this with a slight incline of his head. We sit in silence for a moment, the only sound the pop and hiss of the fire. I watch the way the light plays over the hard planes of his face, softening the edges, making him look younger, almost contemplative. I have an appointment for you, he says, changing the subject abruptly. Tomorrow morning, with an obstetrician. Dr. Alistair Finch. He's the best in the city. My driver will take you. The sudden, practical announcement throws me. Of course, the baby needs medical care. I'm almost 5 months along and haven't seen a doctor since the initial confirmation. It was something I was worrying about. Another problem on the long list of things I couldn't solve. And he, of course, has already solved it. Oh, I say, surprised by the knot of relief in my chest. Okay, thank you. Elena will go with you, he adds, for support. It's another command disguised as a kindness. He's not asking, he's telling. He's managing my life, my health, my pregnancy. The control should chafe, but instead I just feel a wave of gratitude so strong it frightens me. He is taking care of everything. He is taking care of us. The next morning, I'm a bundle of nerves. Elena's comforting presence in the back of the town car does little to soothe me. It's the first time I've left the estate since I arrived. Seeing the city again, the bustling streets and anonymous faces, is jarring. It feels like a world I no longer belong to. Dr. Finch's office is in a private, discreet medical building. It's all quiet tones and modern art. He's an older man with a kind, professional demeanor that immediately puts me at ease. He asks questions, he runs tests, and then he performs an ultrasound. Elena stands beside me, holding my hand as the doctor moves the cold wand over my gel-covered belly. And then, there it is. A grainy, black and white image on the screen. A tiny, perfect silhouette. A head, a spine, waving arms and kicking legs. The rhythmic thumping of a heartbeat fills the quiet room, strong and steady. Everything looks perfect, Dr. Finch says, smiling. A very healthy, very active baby. Would you like to know the gender? I look at Elena, then back at the screen. Tears are blurring my vision. All the fear and uncertainty of the past few weeks seem to melt away in the face of that tiny, thumping heart. My baby. My child is real and healthy and safe. Yes, I whisper. Please. He takes a few more measurements, typing on his keyboard. Well, congratulations, he says, turning to me. You're having a boy. A boy. A son. The word settles into my heart with a profound weight. A son. A tiny, fierce joy breaks through the fog of my despair. I laugh. A real, genuine laugh that turns into a happy sob. Elena squeezes my hand, her own eyes misty. On the drive back to the mansion, I'm quiet, clutching the grainy ultrasound photos in my hand like precious treasures. My son. The thought is a protective shield, a source of strength I didn't know I had. I will do anything to protect him. Anything. Even if it means living in a gilded cage, under the rule of a dangerous man. That evening, I find Nico in his study, a room I've never entered before. It's stark and masculine, dominated by a massive mahogany desk. He's looking over some papers, a frown creasing his brow. He looks up as I hesitate in the doorway. The appointment went well? He asks, his expression unreadable. Yes, I say, walking into the room. I feel a strange compulsion to share the news with him. He's not the father, but he's the one providing for this child, protecting him. He has a right to know. Everything is fine. He's healthy. I walk to his desk, and without a word, I lay the ultrasound pictures down on top of his papers. He looks down at them, his gaze fixed on the small, grainy image of my son. He doesn't move for a long moment. He just stares. I watch his face, searching for some reaction, any reaction. His jaw is tight, his expression closed off. Finally, he reaches out, his fingers hovering over the picture, not quite touching it. When he looks up at me, the mask is gone. For a split second, I see something raw and unguarded in his eyes, a deep, profound sadness, a flicker of pain so intense it takes my breath away. It's there, and then it's gone, the mask of indifference slamming back into place. But I saw it. A boy, I say softly. He clears his throat, pushing the pictures gently back toward me. Good, he says, his voice rough. That's good. He stands up abruptly and walks to the window, staring out into the darkness, his back to me. He's erected a wall between us, thick and impenetrable, but I saw that crack in his armor. I saw that flicker of old, unhealed grief. And suddenly, I understand. This isn't about control, not entirely. This isn't about power. This is about something else, something broken inside of him that he's trying to fix by protecting me, by protecting my son. The realization changes everything. He's not just a monster. He's a man who has been wounded, and that, I realize with a jolt, is a far more dangerous thing to be. The knowledge of his past grief, that fleeting glimpse of vulnerability, becomes a silent thread connecting us. I don't mention it, and he never speaks of it, but it hums in the space between us, changing the dynamic from captor and captive to something more complex. I start to see him not just as a threat, but as a puzzle I desperately want to solve. Who was he before he was Nico Belandi, the king of the underworld? What loss carved that hollowed-out look into his soul? My newfound curiosity makes me bolder. One evening, instead of waiting for Elena to bring my dinner tray, I make my way to the kitchen. It's a vast, stainless steel affair, gleaming and professional. Elena and 2 other staff members are bustling about, preparing the evening meal. They stop and stare when I enter, as if a ghost has just walked in. "Miss Mia," Elena says, wiping her hands on her apron. "Is something wrong? Do you need anything?" "No, nothing's wrong," I say, offering a small smile. It smells wonderful in here. I was wondering if I could help." Elena looks flustered. "Oh no, miss, you mustn't. Mr. Belandi would not—" "Mr. Belandi doesn't need to know," I say, my voice gentle but firm. "I'm going crazy with nothing to do. Please, just let me chop some vegetables. I promise not to get in the way." After a moment of hesitation, Elena relents, handing me a cutting board and a knife. The simple, domestic act of chopping carrots and onions is grounding. It makes me feel useful, normal. As I work, I listen to the quiet chatter of the staff. They speak in a mix of Italian and English, and I learn their names, Sophia and Maria. They are wary of me at first, but as the days go on and I make my evening pilgrimage to the kitchen a regular habit, they begin to warm up. They don't talk about their boss, but I glean little things. I learn that Elena has worked for the Belandi family since Nico was a boy. I learn that his father was a hard man, but his mother, Isabella, was kind, with a laugh that could fill the whole house. It was she who planted the rose garden. These small fragments are like breadcrumbs, leading me closer to the heart of the man in the study. One afternoon, the past I thought I'd left behind comes roaring back. I'm in the sunroom, reading, when I hear a commotion at the front gate through the security intercom on the wall. A man's voice, raised and frantic. A voice I know all too well. "Leo." My blood runs cold. I rush to the foyer just as one of Nico's security guards, a mountain of a man named Stefan, comes through the front door. "Mr. Belandi," he says, his voice a low rumble directed at the top of the stairs, where Nico has appeared as if from nowhere. "It's Leo Ferretti. He's at the gate. He's demanding to see Mia. Says he's the baby's father and he has rights." Nico's face is a thundercloud. He descends the stairs slowly, his movements deliberate and menacing. He doesn't even glance at me, but I feel the force of his anger like a physical wave. "He has no rights here," Nico says, his voice lethally soft. He walks to the door. "I will handle this." "Nico, wait," I plead, my heart hammering. I don't know what I'm afraid of more, what Leo might do or what Nico might do to him. Let me talk to him. I'll tell him to go away. Nico turns to me, and his eyes are blazing. "You will do no such thing. You will go to your room, and you will stay there. Stefan, escort her." "No!" The word is out of my mouth before I can stop it. I stand my ground, my hand on my belly. "He's the father of my child, as pathetic as he is. This is my mess. You don't have to—" "Mia." He cuts me off, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. He takes a step closer, and the sheer force of his will is overwhelming. "This man offered you to me like a piece of meat to settle a debt. He forfeited any claim to you or this child the moment he did that. He is a stray dog barking at my gate. I will deal with him. Now go upstairs." There's no arguing with him when he uses that tone. Defeated, I let Stefan gently guide me back up the stairs. But I don't go to my room. I hide in the shadows of the upper hallway, my heart in my throat, and watch as Nico walks out the front door, letting it close behind him. I can't see what's happening, and the not knowing is torture. Minutes stretch into an eternity. I hear Leo's voice, still raised, then Nico's, low and controlled, impossible to hear. Then silence. After what feels like a lifetime, the front door opens and Nico steps back inside. His face is impassive, his suit immaculate. There's no sign of a struggle. "It's done," he says to Stefan. "He will not be back." He looks up then, and his eyes find me instantly in the shadows. I expect anger, a reprimand for my disobedience. Instead, his expression softens almost imperceptibly. He walks up the stairs, stopping directly in front of me. "Are you all right?" he asks, his voice losing its hard edge. I can only nod, my throat too tight to speak. "He won't bother you again," he says, and it's a solemn vow. He reaches out, and for the first time he touches me. His hand comes to rest on my arm, his thumb stroking the fabric of my sleeve. The touch is surprisingly gentle, a stark contrast to the violence I know he's capable of. "I promised you would be safe here. I meant it." His protection is a heavy blanket, suffocating and comforting all at once. I look into his dark eyes, and the question that has been burning inside me spills out. "Why are you doing this, Nico?" "The real reason." He holds my gaze for a long moment, a silent battle waging behind his eyes. The mask is there, but it's thinner now, more fragile. He sighs, a sound of deep, old weariness, and his hand drops from my arm. "Come with me," he says softly. He leads me not to my room or his study, but to a part of the house I've never seen, a quiet, closed-off hallway on the ground floor. He stops before a single, unmarked door and unlocks it with a key from his pocket. He pushes the door open and gestures for me to enter. The room is a nursery, but it's not new and pristine like the rest of the house. It's frozen in time. A wooden crib stands against one wall, a small mobile of carved birds hanging silently above it. A rocking chair is draped with a hand-knitted blue blanket. The walls are painted with a fading mural of sailboats on a calm sea. The air is thick with the scent of dust and memory. It's a room that has been waiting for a child who never came home. My wife, Sophia, we were expecting a son, Nico says, his voice hollow as he stands in the doorway behind me. He doesn't enter the room, as if he can't bear to cross the threshold. There was a car accident. A rival family thought they could send me a message by targeting her. They succeeded. The breath catches in my throat. I turn to look at him. The grief I saw in his eyes when he looked at my ultrasound picture is there again, stark and raw. This is the source of his pain. This is the ghost that haunts him. She and the baby, our son, Alessandro, they were both gone, he continues, his gaze fixed on the empty crib. It was 8 years ago. I closed this door and never opened it again, until now. My heart aches for him, for the unimaginable loss he's carried in silence for so long. All his control, his ruthlessness, his carefully constructed empire. It's all a fortress built around this empty room. When I saw you, he says, his voice barely a whisper, standing on that street so alone, carrying a child, it was like seeing a ghost, a chance to, to protect what I couldn't protect before. I finally understand. I'm not just a responsibility. I am a chance at redemption. My son is a stand-in for the son he lost. The realization is heavy, complicated, and deeply, profoundly moving. I walk out of the nursery and stand before him, close enough to feel the heat radiating from his body. I'm not her, Nico, I say softly, my voice thick with emotion. And my son isn't Alessandro. I know, he says, his jaw tight. He looks down at me, his eyes dark with 1,000 unspoken emotions. But I will not fail to protect you both. Without thinking, I reach up and place my hand on his cheek. His skin is rough with stubble, his body rigid beneath my touch. He flinches, as if unused to any form of gentle contact, but he doesn't pull away. He closes his eyes, leaning into my palm just slightly, a silent surrender. In that moment, he is not the feared Mafia boss. He is just a man, drowning in grief, and I am the first hand to reach for him in a very long time. The barrier between us doesn't just crack, it shatters, and in the ruins, something new and fragile and terrifyingly real begins to take root. The revelation in the nursery changes the atmosphere of the house entirely. The unspoken tension between us dissolves, replaced by a quiet, fragile intimacy. We start spending our evenings together in the library, not as warden and prisoner, but as two solitary people finding solace in each other's company. We don't talk about his past, about Sophia or Alessandro. We don't have to. It's a silent, shared knowledge that informs every glance, every word. He starts to open up in other ways. He tells me about his childhood, about learning the family business from his stern father. He talks about his mother's roses, how she could make anything grow. I, in turn, tell him about my quiet life before Leo, my job as a librarian, my love for stories, my dreams of a family that had felt so distant until now. We are weaving the frayed threads of our separate lives into a new, shared tapestry. One evening, a fierce thunderstorm rolls in, rattling the massive windows of the mansion and plunging the estate into darkness as the power fails. The emergency generator kicks in, casting the library in a dim, flickering glow from a few strategic lamps. The sudden intimacy of the half-darkness is startling. "Are you afraid of storms?" Nico asks, his voice a low rumble from the armchair opposite mine. "Not usually," I admit, my hand resting on my belly where the baby is kicking, agitated by the change in pressure. But he seems to be. Nico gets up and walks over to my chair. He crouches down in front of me, his large frame suddenly on my level. May I? He asks, his gaze fixed on my stomach. My heart flutters. I nod, my throat suddenly dry. He reaches out, his hand large and warm, and gently places it next to mine on the curve of my belly. His touch is hesitant at first, then firm as the baby gives a surprisingly strong kick against his palm. A slow, genuine smile spreads across Nico's face, transforming his harsh features into something breathtakingly handsome. It's the first real smile I've ever seen from him. He is strong, he says, his voice filled with a quiet wonder. He is, I whisper, my eyes locked with his. The space between us is electric, charged with the storm outside and the emotional storm within. His hand is still on my belly, a warm, possessive weight. His other hand comes up to cup my jaw, his thumb stroking my cheek. The gesture is tender, proprietary. Mia, he murmurs, his name a prayer on his lips. He leans in slowly, giving me every chance to pull away. But I don't. I can't. I meet him halfway, my eyes fluttering shut as his lips meet mine. The kiss is nothing like I expected. It's not rough or demanding. It's soft, searching, filled with a desperate, pent-up longing. It tastes of whiskey and grief and a profound, aching loneliness that mirrors my own. It's a kiss that speaks of shared sorrow and the tentative, terrifying hope for something new. When he pulls back, we are both breathless. He rests his forehead against mine, his hand still warm on my belly, the other tangled in my hair. The thunder rolls outside, a distant echo of the cataclysm that has just occurred between us. I will not be a substitute for the son you lost, Nico. I whisper again in the darkness, needing him to understand. And I cannot be your wife who is gone. You are not a substitute for anything, he says, his voice thick with emotion. He pulls back to look at me, his eyes dark and intense in the dim light. You are the first thing that has felt real in 8 years. You and him. His hand tightens possessively on my stomach. You are mine, Mia. Not because I own you, but because my soul recognizes you. The words steal the air from my lungs. It's the most poetic, beautiful, and terrifying thing anyone has ever said to me. My relationship with Leo was a pale, flimsy thing compared to the raw, elemental force of what is happening between me and this man. I am falling for him, deeply, irrevocably, and I know, with a certainty that settles deep in my bones, that he is falling for me too. From that night on, everything is different. The line between us is gone. He moves a set of his clothes into the rose suite, his presence filling the space that once felt so empty. He doesn't sleep in the massive bed with me yet. A silent, respectful boundary he seems unwilling to cross until the baby is born. But he sits with me until I fall asleep, his hand often resting on my belly, as if guarding us both. He is no longer just my protector. He is my partner, my confidant. The man I am inexplicably, terrifyingly in love with. But this fragile new world we've built is a fantasy, and reality is waiting to intrude. There are still whispers on the phone, meetings that he takes in his study with the door closed. There are shadows in his world that his love for me cannot erase. One afternoon, a woman arrives at the house. She's tall, impossibly chic, with raven hair and a predatory smile. I see her from the library window, kissing Nico on both cheeks at the front door before he ushers her into his study. Elena, who is dusting nearby, stiffens. Who is that? I ask, trying to keep my voice casual. Elena's lips press into a thin line. That is Katerina Volkov. Her family and the Belandis have business ties. Her tone makes it clear the ties are more than just business. A cold, ugly jealousy coils in my gut. She is a woman from his world, a world of power and danger and secrets, a world I will never truly belong to. I try to ignore it, to trust him. But later that day, as I'm passing his study, the door is slightly ajar. I hear their voices. "She's a vulnerability, Nico," Katerina is saying, her voice sharp. "A pregnant librarian? Our enemies will see her as a weakness, a target. And what happens after the baby is born? Will you discard her? You cannot possibly be thinking of making this arrangement permanent." I press my hand to my mouth, my heart sinking. Nico's reply is low, and I have to strain to hear it. "What I do with Mia is my concern, not yours, Katerina." "Is it?" she challenges. "Your father arranged our betrothal years ago, an alliance between our families. That is what is best for business. This girl is a distraction, a liability that could cost you everything. You need to get rid of her." Betrothal. The word is a slap in the face. He never told me. Was I just a temporary comfort? A placeholder until he fulfilled his duty to his family, to his business? The trust we had so carefully built crumbles into dust. The doubt is a poison, seeping into every happy memory, every tender moment. He said I was real, that his soul recognized me. Was it all a lie? A beautiful, calculated lie to keep me docile in my cage? I stumble back to my room, my mind reeling. The betrayal feels sharper, deeper than Leo's, because what I feel for Nico is 1,000 times more real. I look around the beautiful suite, at the clothes in the closet, the books on the shelf. It's not a home. It's a beautifully decorated holding cell. When Nico comes to the suite that evening, I am cold and distant. He senses the change immediately. "What is it?" he asks, his brow furrowed with concern. "Katerina Volkov," I say, my voice flat. "She's beautiful. Is she the woman you're supposed to marry?" His face hardens. "You were eavesdropping." "The door was open," I shoot back, my anger rising. "You're betrothed to her, Nico, an alliance. Was I ever going to factor into that equation? Or was I just the distraction you'd get rid of once the baby was born and you'd salved your conscience?" "That is not what this is," he says, his voice tight with frustration. "The arrangement with Katerina was made by my father years ago. It is a relic of the past. It means nothing to me." "It seems to mean something to her," I cry, the tears I've been holding back finally spilling over. "And it means something to your world, the world you live in, the one I'm not a part of. What am I, Nico? Tell me the truth. Am I your redemption project? Am I a secret you're keeping until you're forced to choose between me and your empire?" "You are everything!" he roars, his control finally snapping. He crosses the room in 2 strides, gripping my arms. His eyes are blazing with a desperate fury. "You and this child are everything to me. There is no choice to be made." But the seed of doubt has been planted. How can I believe him? His world is built on secrets and lies and strategic alliances. Love is a luxury a man like him cannot afford. The argument ends in a stalemate, a cold, painful silence stretching between us. He leaves the room, and for the first time in weeks, I am truly alone again. The silence of the mansion more oppressive than ever. The trust is broken, and I don't know if we can ever get it back. The days following our fight are a cold war. A chasm of silence and mistrust has opened between us, and neither of us knows how to cross it. Nico is distant, his mask of cool control firmly back in place. He's consumed by his work, taking hushed, urgent calls at all hours. There's a new tension in the house, a hum of anxiety that even the staff seems to feel. The guards are more visible, their presence more pronounced. Something is wrong in Nico's world. My own world has shrunk back to the confines of the Rose Suite. The trust I had placed in him feels like a naive folly. Katerina's words echo in my mind. A liability. That's all I am. A weakness his enemies can exploit. The thought terrifies me, not for myself, but for my son. My love for Nico is now tangled with fear. Loving him puts my child in danger. One evening, Elena brings my dinner tray, her face etched with worry. "Miss Mia," she says, her voice low, "please, you must talk to him. He is not himself. He is pushing everyone away, but he needs you." "He has, Katerina," I say bitterly. "The alliance." Elena shakes her head, her expression sad. "That is business. It is not love. What he feels for you. I have not seen him look at anyone that way since his mother was alive. Do not let pride and fear destroy it." Her words chip away at the wall of anger I've built around my heart. Could she be right? Am I letting my fear sabotage the one real thing I've found? Before I can decide what to do, my choice is taken from me. A sudden, jarring alarm blares through the house, a deafening, rhythmic shriek. Red lights flash in the hallway. Elena gasps, her hand flying to her chest. Before either of us can react, the door to my suite bursts open. It's not Nico. It's one of his lieutenants, a man I recognize named Marco. His face is grim. Behind him, 2 other guards rush in, their weapons drawn. "We have to move, now," Marco commands, his eyes scanning the room. "There's been a breach." "What's happening? Where's Nico?" I demand, my body flooding with adrenaline. "He's dealing with the perimeter. My orders are to get you to the safe room," he says, grabbing my arm. He pulls me out of the room and down the hallway. The house is in chaos. Staff are running, alarms are blaring. It's a nightmare. As Marco hustles me toward the main staircase, I see it. A flicker of movement at the end of the hall. A man dressed in black, holding a silenced pistol. He's not one of Nico's guards. "Marco, look out!" I scream. But Marco doesn't turn. Instead, he shoves me hard against the wall, using my body as a shield. The man in black raises his weapon, but he's not aiming at Marco. He's aiming past him, at something behind me. The realization hits me like a physical blow. Marco isn't protecting me. He's the threat. Suddenly, a shot rings out, deafening even over the alarm. The man in black crumples to the floor. And there, at the end of the hall, is Nico. His face is a mask of pure fury, a smoking gun in his hand. His eyes lock on Marco, who still has me pinned. "Let her go, Marco," Nico says, his voice dangerously calm. Marco laughs, a chilling, triumphant sound. He presses the cold muzzle of his own gun to my temple. My blood turns to ice. My hand flies to my belly, a desperate, futile shield. "You've gotten soft, Nico," Marco sneers. "This woman, this baby, they've made you weak. Your father would be ashamed. It's time for a change in leadership." It's a coup. Marco, the trusted lieutenant, the traitor. He's using me to get to Nico. Katerina was right. I am a liability. I am the weapon being used to destroy the man I love. "You think killing me will get you my empire?" Nico says, taking a slow step forward. "My men are loyal. They will hunt you to the ends of the earth." "Your men follow strength," Marco spits. "When they see you choose this woman over your own survival, they will see you for what you are. A fool." He tightens his grip on me, the gun pressing painfully into my skin. "So, what's it gonna be, boss? Her life? Or your legacy?" My mind is racing. I can't let him die for me. I can't let my son grow up without a father because I was too weak. I have to do something. I look at Nico, my eyes pleading with him. Don't do it. Don't choose me. But I see the answer in his eyes. He would burn his entire kingdom to the ground to save me. And Marco knows it. I have to be the author of my own story. Not a character. Not a victim. My eyes dart around, looking for any advantage. The hallway is long. To my left, a heavy, ornate console table. On it, a marble bust of some Roman emperor. It's my only chance. Nico, I say, my voice trembling but clear. I love you. It's the first time I've said the words out loud. I see the shock and emotion flash in his eyes. It's the distraction I need. In one swift, desperate movement, I stomp down hard on Marco's instep with my heel. He grunts in pain, his grip loosening for a fraction of a second. It's enough. I slam my elbow back into his ribs and shove myself away from him, toward the table. My hands close around the base of the marble bust. It's impossibly heavy. Adrenaline surges through me. I heave it off the table just as Marco recovers, turning his gun on me. "Mia, no!" Nico screams. I don't hesitate. I swing the bust with all my strength, fueled by terror and a fierce, protective love for the man down the hall and the child in my womb. The heavy marble connects with Marco's gun hand with a sickening crunch of bone. His weapon clatters to the floor. He howls in agony, clutching his shattered wrist. In the next instant, Nico's men are on him, swarming him, subduing him. The crisis is over as quickly as it began. The alarms cut out, plunging the hallway into a sudden, ringing silence. I'm left standing there, breathing heavily, my hands still gripping the marble bust. My entire body is shaking. I look up and meet Nico's eyes. He's staring at me, his expression a mixture of awe, terror, and overwhelming relief. He closes the distance between us in 3 long strides and pulls me into his arms, crushing me against his chest. He buries his face in my hair, his body trembling as much as mine. "Are you hurt?" he murmurs, his hands running over me, checking for injuries. "The baby?" "We're okay," I whisper into his shirt, which smells of gunpowder and him. "We're okay." He pulls back, his hands framing my face. He looks at me as if seeing me for the first time. The librarian, the victim, the liability. I am none of those things. I am the woman who just saved his life. "You love me," he says, his voice thick with wonder. "I do," I say, tears of relief streaming down my face. "And you, Nico Belandi? Do you love me? Or am I just a ghost you're trying to save?" He lets out a shaky laugh, a sound of pure, unadulterated joy. "Mia Leone," he says, his thumbs wiping away my tears. "You are the least ghostly person I have ever met. You are the most alive thing in my world." He leans down and kisses me, a fierce, possessive kiss that tastes of promises and forever. It's not a kiss of shared grief, but a kiss of a shared future, a future we just fought for, together. "I love you," he says against my lips. "There is no alliance, no business, no empire that means more to me than you and our son." In the aftermath, the house is quiet. Marco and his conspirators are gone, dealt with in the swift, brutal way of Nico's world. The threat is neutralized. Elena fusses over me, bringing me sweet tea and insisting I rest, but I refuse to leave Nico's side. We sit in his study, the door closed, the two of us enclosed in our own private world. I'm curled against him in his large leather chair, my head on his chest, his arms wrapped securely around me and the precious life I carry. "Katerina is on a plane back to Russia," he tells me, his voice a low rumble against my ear. "I have formally dissolved the betrothal. My business with her family is concluded, permanently." "And your other associates?" I ask quietly. "Will they accept me now? Accept us?" "After tonight." He chuckles, the sound vibrating through me. "The story of the pregnant librarian who took down a traitor with a marble statue? I think you've just become a legend, my love. They will not see you as a weakness. They will see you as what you are, the queen of this house. Queen. The word sounds foreign, unbelievable, but as I sit here, safe in his arms, it doesn't feel entirely wrong. I am no longer the desperate, abandoned woman on the street corner. I am not his prisoner or his project. I am his partner, his equal. He shifts, turning me in his lap to face him. He takes my left hand in his expression turning serious. There is a contract that binds us, Mia. The one I made with myself the night I found you. A promise to protect you. But it's not the right contract. I want a new one. He reaches into his desk drawer and pulls out a small velvet box. My breath hitches. He opens it. Inside, nestled on the dark velvet, is a ring. It's not a flashy diamond. It's a simple, elegant platinum band, set with a single deep blue sapphire that seems to hold the night sky in its depths. This was my mother's, he says softly. She told me to give it to the woman who was my heart, not my business. For 8 years, I thought that woman was a ghost. But she's not. She's you. Tears well in my eyes as he slips the cool, heavy ring onto my finger. It's a perfect fit. Marry me, Mia, he says, his voice thick with an emotion he no longer hides. Don't be my guest, don't be my ward, be my wife, be my partner in everything. Build a life with me, a family. Let me be a father to our son, not a replacement, a real father. My heart feels like it could burst. This is the new pact, not one born of desperation and obligation, but one forged in fire and truth and a love so powerful it brought us both back to life. My old life is gone. My old story is over. A new one is beginning, here in the heart of this dangerous, beautiful world. I look from the ring on my finger to the face of the man who saved me, the man I saved right back. I am no longer a character in someone else's story. I am the author of my own. And I know, with every fiber of my being, how this chapter ends. Yes, I whisper, my voice full of joy and certainty. Yes, Nico, I'll marry you. His smile is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. It's the dawn after a long, dark night. He leans in and kisses me, sealing our new promise, and in his arms, I am finally truly home.